Hi there and welcome back to my channel. Alexandra here. I had a break for a couple of months, but it's good to be back. Full disclosure, I miss you a lot and I couldn't wait to get back to work, so here we are. In today's video, I have for you a tier dress. Of course, we are going to start with what you'll need to make this dress. I used to make mine 2.5 meters of fabric, brocade in my case, one hidden zipper for the skirt, and some extra fabric for the pocket. The next step in this process is the pattern. For the top part, I use the bodice pattern that I modify, as you can see. And for the skirt pattern, I use the next measurements to make it. The skirt has 3 ruffles. This is what I use for the first ruffle, for the second one, and for the third one. And of course, don't forget about the pockets with this following pattern. Now we can get to cutting the pieces that we needed for this dress. I started with the bodice, front and back. Then moving to cut the skirt. First, second, and third ruffle. Now we can move to the sewing part, starting with the bodice. I started with attaching the shoulders line. I use the serger for the edges and I press it. Next, I'll make another serger stitch on the edges of the bodice. And now I will show you how I made the neckline facing. I placed a folded fabric underneath and started to trace the neckline. I measure how wide I wanted the facing to be, in my case 4 centimeters. I trace it and start to cut it. I did the same thing for the back. I sewed the pieces together. And made a cover stitch. Also, don't forget to make a cover stitch for the exterior edge too. I pinned it to the neckline and sewed it. I cleaned all the edges with my serger. After that, I made an underline stitch. In the next step, I pressed everything. I close the sides of the bodice. And to keep the facing underneath, I made a shoulder stitch. I started to pin the sleeves opening in order to sew it. Again, press everything nice and clean. Before we go to the skirt, we have to make the pockets first. If you don't want pockets, you can skip this part. I cut the first ruffle to prepare it for the pocket. I place the pattern on the fabric, trace it, and cut it. I pinned, sew it, and use the serger for the stitches. Press it. Measure where you want to place your pocket. In my case, I prefer it at 10 centimeters from the waistline. I pin it to one side, sew it. And I attach it to the other side. Sew it again. And use the serger for each side stitch. Now I can close the sides. Press open the seam allowances. Now making the skirt. This was the most time-consuming step, where I had to gather all the ruffles. I didn't love it, but worth it in the end. I started with the first ruffle, I increased the stitch length to the maximum, and double stitched it all. After I gathered the first ruffle, I sew it to the bodice. I made sure that the side stitches were aligned. I sew it and use the serger after. And because I wanted my dress to have a little bit of flair, I decided to shorten the first ruffle. This part, it's optional. I double stitch and gather the second ruffle. Attach it and sew it to the first ruffle. I use the serger again for the edge. And repeat the same process for the third ruffle. I use the serger for the edges of the skirt. Now that I have the skirt complete, we can attach the zipper. I shorten the zipper. I attach and sew it to the dress. The first time with the regular foot, the second time with the zipper foot. And I press it. If you want to see more about this process, I have more videos here that you can watch. The final step was to attach some cute straps to the bodice because I didn't want to close my dress with a long zipper. I cut 2 pieces of fabric. I sew it and place them between the fabric and the back facing. The last part was sewing the back edge of the bodice. Now I can finally show you the dress. And that's it this week. I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you have any questions or advice, as usual, my comment section is open. Don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and share if you learned something new that you like. Until next time, let's find inspiration.